Hey friends, welcome back. Micah and Jim here again, and in this session we want to cover a little bit about the current state of the industry, and then the future of what we see of vacation rentals.
Right.
And so if you haven't checked us out at thevru.com, you should do that probably now, where we teach all kind of lessons about how to manage your business appropriately, how to grow, and we're trying to create this baseline in the industry of an educated platform of vacation rental managers or do-it-yourselfers.
Right.
Either way, no excuse not to know what you're doing.
Right.
Check us out at TheVRU. All video lessons, tons of tools, all those sorts of things. So I want to dive in here with Jim about the current state of the vacation rental industry. So obviously, over the last 9-10 years, I've been building Real Joy Vacations from 18 to 400 plus units in 5 cities. And so I have a very direct view. I mean, I've been in operations every single day for 9-10 years. Yeah, exactly. So I'm in the weeds running that company. But tell us a little bit about what you've been doing for the last 9 years and some of your perspective on what's happening today.
Sure. After I sold Sterling Resorts, my last company in 2008, I've basically been a consultant in the industry, primarily doing mergers and acquisitions for operating companies like yours.
Yeah.
And most of my transactions, I represent buyers, and I have buy-side clients that have me go source management companies or vacation rental, depending on what their criteria is. I have a team and we source those. So I read a lot of financial statements. I see a lot of tax returns, and I've been it's been a great ride. Yeah. And so everything from very small mom and pop type companies all the way to some pretty large transactions. Yeah. So I see, I'm not in operations at all, but I see what's going on today just based on that.
In a lot of companies.
In a lot of different companies.
And we'll never divulge, obviously, any of the stuff you've seen in particular, or even drop any names. The point is, Jim's seen the inner workings of hundreds at this point?
Easily hundreds of companies.
And so while I've seen mine and I've tried to create mine, and Jim's kind of advised me along the way, it's really neat to see what I'm creating in sort of a necessity, if you will, and then what Jim's seeing as necessity. And we always get to talk about these things like, hey, I'm glad you're developing this yielding platform or this method of yielding because so-and-so did this and their company's worth more, they're more profitable or whatever.
Correct.
And we don't get any secrets, but I just can feel the industry's pulse in that regard.
It is, the current state of the industry is really kind of cool to me. Everybody from the professional management side looks at the self-managed, the home aways, the Airbnbs as almost like, oh, we don't like them. They've hurt our industry. But they've also helped our industry. Number one, it's put us on our toes. Yeah. Number two is it's brought all of us to understanding that technology is much more important than we used to think. Yeah. Even me, who is not a big technology guy, you are, and you know how to do it. And the third thing is it's brought a feeling in the outside the industry that we're an industry. Right. When you can see the valuations they're putting on Airbnb and Home Away going public and everything else, you start realizing that the private equity funds and the big cap funds and the hotel companies and even hotel owners that may have 20 hotels, they're suddenly going, wait, what is this vacation rental stuff? Right. They always just thought about the local company competing with them. So what I'm saying is if you're doing business the way you have done it, you won't be able to do it in the future that way unless you keep up, because what's coming in and what's going on is a revolution. Yeah. And you're in it. You're in the weeds. I'm not. But I see it when I go in and I'm buying and selling companies. You can see it, and it doesn't matter if you're in Hawaii, in Miami, or up in Maine, or in Canada or Mexico. It does not matter. The influx of outside companies who already have the technology and so forth from their industries are jumping into ours. And we as an industry need to, and that's one of the biggest foundations of why I'm pumped about VRU, is that we will be able to take the things you have put together that I consider to be some of the best I've ever seen and help others because you're there, okay? And so right now we're at a point where it's fish or cut bait, as they say along the coast here. you can do it the way you've been doing it, but I can tell you, you're not going to be doing it for long.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I hate to say it that way, but it's true.
Well, and Jim's our chairman and co-founder, and he's obviously going to help us produce content, some of these things from his experience. But I love our phone calls where you warn me often about being on literally the bleeding edge of everything that's happening, from operations to, I went down that path of trying to do ISO 9001 standardization and how much money that cost me. And launching into cities and figuring out lease arbitrage and all of this stuff. I mean, I literally have spent millions of dollars on R&D for this, much against some of your advice, right?
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes as a warning, like, hey, maybe that initiative is not such a great idea. But what's neat about that is I'll be on the bleeding edge. Jim's looking kind of broadly, and then our subscribers and our students can pick which zone they, because I don't want to totally say the old way is not going to work. There are some markets where you may have a little bit more time than a year or two.
Yeah.
There are markets like Destin. Nope. I mean, if you're watching this and you're in Destin and you're not on kind of the forward edge of the technology and the operations, it's going to be hard to compete.
I would say there's more markets like what you're talking about than markets that you can be stagnant.
Really?
Yes. There are still markets in this world that you bring your linen still. To vacation.
Yeah.
There's still that.
Yeah.
There are still places that use tape sheets. I'm not saying that the customer service and the operations, it has to be a certain way. What I'm saying is, what I'm seeing is that the companies and the people that are coming into our industry are coming from industries that are more mature than ours. And I've always loved the fact that you created what I consider to be the New England Patriots of the vacation rental industry. And I've seen thousands of companies, and I can tell you that 3 or 4 years ago, people, we didn't know there was an Airbnb.
Right.
Don't think that there's not going to be another Airbnb or another way that there's going to be business. And we don't have anything out there to really gauge it by, because we're not hotels, we're not timeshares, and so forth. So your marine mentality is exactly what's needed, and you're gonna make mistakes. We all did.
Yeah.
But the way your supply chain type thing is going is second to none,
Yeah.
and that's why I'd like to flip it back on you, because I'm not the future.
Yeah.
I'm not old, but I'm not the future. I'm going to continue to do what I do best, which is broker companies.
Sure, totally.
You need to explain what will be in these modules that are part of that supply chain that help what's coming instead of what we've done.
Exactly. And so, to that point, at Real Joy, we do have a very strong bench. I mean, I have 12 managers that run certain parts of the business for me. What's neat about this, if you're on my path and you're trying to grow a big business, only one, and it's actually your son, has any experience in the industry at all.
Yeah.
None of the rest of them had any experience. And so
that's crazy.
Not only am I developing processes, but we're developing it for the growth of the industry. And this is why the future is so important to me, is because you're not going to be able to recruit people from your competitors and keep enough hiring steam to do a good job just in normal course of business. You're going to have to take the receptionist from the accounting firm and turn her into the best reservationist ever.
Absolutely.
And so on and so forth. Your managers are going to have experience in other industries and be converted to this. And so everything we teach on is designed around teaching those people quickly, leading those people into making sure that the business you want to create is what you focus on, not the past. And again, I would never dish on the past, but if you're building for what somebody else already did, even me, you're kind of maybe messing this up. And so we're going to build for the future.
Let me give you an example. I don't mean to interrupt,
No,
but let me give you an example. I was born and raised in Miami. I love the Miami Dolphins. I love Don Shula and Bob Greasy and all those from the 70s, okay? The Dolphins went 17-0, only undefeated team, even though I mentioned the Patriots. But they did it as a running team.
Sure.
Okay? You rarely see that kind of team anymore because the dynamics of football has changed. Yeah. The rules have changed.
Right.
And so if you tried to run the Miami Dolphins offense from 1972 when they were 17-0 and do it now, you fail. Well, they wouldn't win a game.
Quite honestly, understanding of fitness and diet, to stick on the football, the conditioning has leveled out.
Yep.
You've got the same level of conditioning at the Patriots that you do at the Miami Dolphins,
Right.
where back then they had an advantage. They
Absolutely.
were faster, stronger, better, right? They recruited better. They saw this trend coming and it worked. Don't be caught
No.
when the industry starts to level itself out and maybe you're highly conditioned and you're doing these running passes and you're undefeated in your market. That might change, and that's what VRU is all about.
It will change.
It will change.
I'm just telling you, every time I think we're at a certain level of professionalism, a Home Away pops up,
Yep.
an Airbnb pops up. We have the service departments in Europe that are now, being done in the U.S. a lot. Every time I think there can't be another ingredient in this weird industry, there is, and that's why the processes that you have in place really save your company, because your ability to shift, and I've always used the concrete example, where most companies that you pour a 2-inch slab and then you build up and then you start to grow and you keep building, but that 2-inch slab cracks. You built a 6 to 8-inch slab, you can go as high as you want, and that's the difference, and that is based on what you've done, and that's why the VRU modules are going to be so important, because you're going to have somebody that is, we don't even have a standard chart of accounts in our industry.
In the whole industry.
In the whole industry, we don't have a chart of accounts. Every time I look at a profit and loss statement on a potential acquisition target, I look at it, it's different. Every single one of them is different. Some people.
And if you haven't, check out our modules on accounting.
It's vital that you look at that, because, again, if you even want to sell later on, don't you want to speak the language of the people that are possibly buying you? And they may not be from the industry.
What they want to buy.
Absolutely.
Because it's not always what you think. It's not like software where it's totally revenue based and that sort of thing. And you have to know how to describe what your EBITDA is and how you've derived that and why it's secure. Because you're asking somebody to pay many multiples for your company.
Hopefully a lot of multiples.
Hopefully a lot of multiples.
And if you have your act together, you'll get it.
Yeah, exactly.